let's talk about why I decided to pack my stuff and leave China after having lived there for more than 7 years. I can tell you it was not an easy decision to leave behind the life that I had built there, my business, my friends, and escaping from the lockdown that was ongoing at that time. But let me tell you what were the reasons that led to me ultimately deciding to move back to Europe. Before we get into it, I would like to know, what are your experiences with China? Have you lived there yourself? Do you have some Chinese friends? Or you don't know anything about China? Let me know in the comments below. What is your impression? Nice sky here in Bavaria. My name is Mark. It's time for another update. Whether you're an old subscriber or you're new to the channel, welcome everyone. As I shared in the last update, I am not in China anymore. I am now in Germany. I'm in Bavaria. It's November, winter is coming, days are getting shorter. It's now 4 p.m. I guess in about half an hour it will already start getting dark. Anyways, most of you guys might assume that the main reason, the main driver for me leaving China was the zero COVID policy. And while definitely it was a factor, it was one of the reasons to leave, but it was not the main one. If it was only about the COVID policy and the pandemic, you might have stayed, because it was clear that at some point it would end and go back to normal. However, in the last couple of years, there have been a lot of changes in China, and especially for foreigners living and working in China. Number one, I'd definitely say, is a decline in attractiveness of choosing China as your place to live. With global tensions rising and the economic activities going down, declining, it has become increasingly difficult for foreigners to find decent work or decent jobs in China. While there used to be a huge demand in foreign professionals, experts and expats, nowadays the demand is constantly shrinking, getting smaller, and so are the salaries that companies are willing to pay to attract these professional expats, these employees. Together with that, I noticed a strong decline in the degree of internationalization in China. While there used to be a huge expat community or foreign community in China, in the last several years, lots of foreigners have left the country, returned to their home countries, or moved on to other countries for work, for a living. So while it was possible to meet up with other foreigners after work, go travel, have the same interests, exchange a little bit, or just experience a little bit of your home culture in China, this has also become increasingly difficult. Especially in some smaller or less known cities like Chengdu, most of your friends which used to live there have already left, which makes it difficult to socialize and to interact in your daily life. Another important reason, at least for me, was the predictability in China. The first couple of years when I lived there, I knew more or less what is going on, what is going to happen, which direction the things are moving, even though you would never understand everything that stands behind this country and the culture, but still, you could plan ahead, you could make plans. But the last couple of years, especially after the start of the COVID pandemic, the things got really difficult. There were decisions, there were policies, there were things made and done which made you question your knowledge about China, and which made it very difficult for you to plan ahead, to plan your future. To some degree, I would say, not only applies this to China, but to the whole world. It's getting increasingly complex and difficult, but I guess this is definitely one of the reasons why a lot of individuals, but also corporations, companies, are reconsidering their options. Now, last but not least, I would say, were personal considerations. After having lived there for such a long time, I just felt like it's time to change. It's time for, let's say, something new. After having lived there far away from lots of my friends and family and the environment that I grew up in, I just felt like it's time to go back. Even though, of course, you had a nice life, lots of fun, but still, of course, at some point you start missing these things. But also life in general is a lot different in China than in Europe. It's much more fast-paced. I mean, there's a lot going on every day on the streets. There's a lot of movement, a lot of excitement, which is nice, but at some point you still start to miss or start to like this quiet, more or less ordinary life back in Europe. All in all, I would say it was the right choice to pack my stuff, leave China and return to Europe at this point. But what do you think? What is your opinion on that? Do you think I should have stayed in China? Do you think I made the right choice by coming back? Let me know in the comments below. That's about it for today's thoughts and updates from my side. I would like to thank you very much for watching today. It's starting to get dark, especially that way. It's time to get home and eat some dinner. Bye guys, I will see you in the next update.